Oh, yeah,
I'd
Jane.
like to call the meeting to order. It is 5:35 on Thursday, February 10th. Meeting of the Senior Council, Scituate Senior Council on Aging. We'll do our monthly quick round of intros. I'm J.D. Miller, the board chair. To my right, to the audience left.
Linda Hayes, Director of the Senior Center and Council on Aging.
Marie Fricker, member of the board.
Leslie James, board member. Susan Drevich Kelly, vice chair.
Lonnie Brady, board member.
Dee Dwyer, board member. Alicia Myrick, liaison, oh my God, stop talking. Liaison for Friends of Scituate Seniors.
Got it.
Thank you.
Jill Johnston, Administrative Assistant for the Council on Aging.
Pat Malton, board member.
Welcome all. Welcome all. Jill, thank you for being here. You're always welcome. We like to see you every once in a while. We have our secretary tonight is Marie. Okay. And I believe we should probably just try to take a quick glance at last month's minutes.
And I apologize for not sending them early, and I had them, Pat, thank you, I just forgot. So, there they are for you to read. I did firm it up a little so I don't too.
Good. Does anyone have any comments, edits, changes to last month's meeting minutes?
I would just say excellent job by note.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
And a second?
Second?
Very good, thank you. So we do have an aforementioned sort of guest, Jill Johnston, who's sort of the office administrator for this place. So Jill, I'm not sure, if everyone's even met you or you've met them, so we want to do that. And we want to hear a little bit about maybe what constitutes your day, as well as how we can help.
Okay. Yeah, I do see some new faces here, so nice to meet everybody. I've been working at the Council on Aging for like 17 years now.
How many?
But
Which is
17.
impressive.
I know, I can't believe it.
That's awesome.
But, I mean, it's a totally different experience now here in our new senior center, and it's wonderful. It's nice to come into work every day. But, mostly what I do is, a lot of data entry, the accounting, just backup for other staff members, for the volunteers. I try to keep an ear open to everything that's going on.
But we can hear each other all the time.
Right,
so we
right,
really
yeah.
do. And it's who everybody sees first, really, right
Yeah.
through the door, which was
Yeah.
either a great
Jill's
design
got
or
a direct
terrible.
line
Yeah.
to sort of the reception area, so
Yep,
she
yeah.
can sort of try to do work as well as try to see what's going on at the reception area.
It's actually a great person for that.
Yeah.
Because you've seen everything in 17 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you would know when somebody's a little confused or somebody, is doing something you're not sure they should be doing.
Yeah.
Great.
She's awesome.
I do have experience, so thank you.
Everyone thinks so, and she is great backup for the front desk and really does
Yes.
help to sort of make sure we know they know what they need to be doing, or when people are maybe sometimes crowding the front desk a little bit, Jill can step in and help out, but she does.
She is the answerer of all questions.
Yes.
She's the
That's right.
go-to person.
Yeah.
I have observed Jill to have out-of-body experiences, like 1 minute I'll see her at her desk, and then she's not there, and she's down the hall. And then she's over there. You are amazing.
So thank you.
Are there areas where we can help this board?
That's a good question. Well, I mean, we do have a wonderful volunteer
Yeah.
staff. And, but, I don't know.
You can think about
Yeah, I
that.
have to think about that.
Well, and she
Yeah.
does do a lot of, like, she will update, between the two of us really, I think for the most part, we'll update the town website. So sometimes even just letting us know or letting Jill know directly that something may need to be updated or maybe doesn't read as it should or could be done differently. She does post our agendas to the town website and the minutes after, so she does keep up with that in terms of the board work or helping with the packets if any. But she's,
And how are things going in district program?
Oh, everything's going very well. There are some things that are,
You still probably have
the
some.
menu, lunch sign-ups are kind of
Yeah.
still, we're trying to figure out a good system for that. So that, I think that's the main issue. But, I mean, mostly everything is positive with people coming in. And, the programs and the instructors are wonderful, and so I think it's going very well.
Good. I mean, realistically, we've really only been officially open for what, 7 months?
Well, March it will be a year.
Well, we didn't officially open until like June,
Yeah,
so.
well, officially, but we were open April.
Yeah.
It was a soft opening, but
Soft.
people were coming in
Yeah.
and we were doing programs at least by May. Now granted, it was a little gradual and yes, the June 1st was kind of like, okay, now we could come inside and gather a little more liberally, I guess. But yeah.
So there's gonna be learning curves and over 6 or 7 months, but I think we get into smoothing some things out. Right? You have
I was
some-
just gonna ask Jill, like, you were working in a much smaller building for 17 years, right? How have your duties changed since the new building came about? I know there are more programs and.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot more volume of people coming in, so there's a lot of different things to deal with, and then like maintaining the rosters and payments, there's like a high volume of that.
So are you in charge of like collecting all the money for all the programs?
Well, the volunteers at the front desk do it, but then I have to like reconcile and record and
Um,
for But there are some volunteers that do it, so. Does help.
So yes, and I think really, if you think about the accounts payable and things, we are paying more out in terms of the kitchen and whatnot, and her deposits are, you know, just a little bit more
Sure.
frequent for the monies that we get in the building. So there is that, and the attendance is larger, and sometimes the fact that, let's say, for lunch, we decided to offload, so to speak, the lunch payments and check-in. They still check in at the, or they should with their scan cards, we hope, but then they go down, and for the most part, they see Jess, because she's got just the right bedside manner for the whole lunch deal. But then the attendance list, so to speak, goes back to Jill, and then we do that, so making sure we
That's
know
probably a great idea.
who's not come that signed up, or who's, you know, come in that may not have signed up, or whether they can or not. So it's kind of constant every day, the lists. And we try to get it into the system so that these numbers that you see every month are accurate. Close, but there's still some.
I just want to add a little kudo by way of the fact that earlier this year, before December, Jill was out for a while. And it was like running around catching your tail. What were we going to do? Oh, what's going on? It was just a wake-up call to know that we could do it without her, but it was so much easier with her.
Thanks.
Much more efficient. Well, the Jill of all trades, I say that all the time, so you've probably heard me, but that is her little moniker.
That is a good label. Well, we appreciate it.
Geez, I might come to these meetings more often.
And your ability to multitask all day long. So, thank you. So, well, keep in mind, raising issues if there's anything that's relevant for us.
I have a question to ask Jill. Do you think if we moved to credit card payments, your life would be easier or more difficult?
Probably more difficult.
The way it is, it's an added layer.
Yeah.
It's done, granted, and we don't touch it necessarily, but then she does, or we would get a report of what's been done, and then it's kind of hard because now it's not part of the
Right.
cash coming in, so then it has to be kept in mind, like, you know, somebody's telling you now, well, I paid for the month
Right.
online, and now you have to know that, which is not really a
Yeah.
place in my senior center to.
No, I meant instead of cash.
Yeah,
You mean at the
not
door?
everyone's gonna use a credit card, so
Yeah.
then you're dealing with something with cash, something with
Right,
credit,
right.
and then it's gonna take longer, because you gotta
Checks.
slide the card, they
Yeah.
have to sign it, blah, blah, blah. I think
Are you
cash.
talking
You don't
for
have-
lunch
You don't
or
have to
for-
sign anything anymore. You
No.
just,
Yeah.
you just get a Square application on a phone and you just scan it.
I mean, believe me, every time I do one of those little squares, I'm thinking, that is not a bad thing. But-
Yeah, and I've never had an error with.
So if we were to get away from what we have been able to do so far, which is not an awful lot, but the online payments in a separate system through town hall, blah, 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 but if we had the square right here,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
I could-
it
When
must
I say
make
move
things
the credit
pretty
card.
easier,
When you
everybody
say
wouldn't be
square, is
doing
that
it.
like Apple Pay?
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're talking for lunch or for classes?
For everything.
For everything. What about doing
I
like
mean,
a
we're
card
handling
for lunch
cash.
and punches?
That is a
Would
great
that-
idea, and we at one time had talked about it even for our exercise classes, and I guess maybe it's just sitting with that and seeing logistically how it would work, but it is a great idea.
Yeah, to have people like just buy a card and then you
Yeah.
can, like they do at college,
Yeah,
right?
like 20,
You know, and then you
punches or
reload
punches
the
for
card.
100
Yeah,
bucks.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, brought that up, we can
You
look
don't
at
want
that
it to
idea.
change.
Anybody else have any questions for Jill? Okay, very good.
Thank you, they would like to, we will get back on a rotation, I guess, as long as the staff can do it, it doesn't mind being here a little bit late in the day. So you can see her again in 5, although the staff is so big, really right now, how long it will be till she comes back.
Linda, Director's Report.
Okay. Well, I know I say this every time. First of all, I did not get a written report, so I'm very thankful to my other staff members who did. So you have a report from Jess for activities and volunteers, and then also a transportation report and an outreach report. my own purposes, before getting to that, just some broad strokes. It's still been, it's just as many have seen, it's just busy and all day long. We are running around and we are just answering questions, meeting with people, making sure everybody is satisfied, I guess, and people do have questions, or sometimes it really is just to talk and make people comfortable throughout the building. We do a lot. I will say the AARP tax preparation services started today. That might be a very big part of our week.
Yeah.
Twice a week, Tuesdays, Thursdays, they will be in the small conference room next door, and then in the Peggotty room, which is the larger classroom. And that's so that their volunteers can each sit with some distancing. And unlike last year, where there was an intake, but then they left, the preparers did the work, and then called them in for a final meeting, so to speak, before giving the taxes back over. Now they're being asked to wait, so they make the appointment, they meet with the individual volunteer, and then they're asked to wait while that volunteer prepares their taxes. So that started today. Jill, actually, that's the Jill job. There she goes. She's, front desk and Jill are scheduling the appointments. I'm not sure what the intervals are, half hour or?
Half hour.
Anyway, so all from starting today through April 12th, 2 days a week, they will be, it's a good amount of space. Last year, they were in the community building, had the place to themselves, which served us. Last year was still COVID, conscious, I guess. But it will be nice to have them around, and it is certainly bringing in more people. Some, Hingham used to do it, so many people, and are not right now, so Hingham is coming, Hull a lot, Cohasset, we certainly have others coming to us, and that's just part of the responsibility.
The time slots look really full.
Really full, so I don't know what will happen if we do fill it. Well, I guess we'll just fill it, and that's that, but Marshfield also still continues to do it, so.
Just, if Jill wants to stay here, this is great, but if she'd like to leave, I think we should let her leave.
Did tell her.
You are released.
Yeah, you did tell me that.
What do you, now she's on the spot. Will she stay or will she go?
I think I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fine.
Well, thanks again.
That was great, Pat.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
All right.
Too nice to
You
be
too,
here.
Jill.
Thanks for being here.
Bye, thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
So we also, speaking of staff though, so we had another woman start with us for some administrative support through a program that in fact Susan Kelly did bring to us really. It's called CSEP, Senior Citizen Employment Program. I think there might be another word in there, but anyway, so it's funded through a grant of the state, and she's provided to us for 20 hours a week. So we are training her. She'll be some administrative, some technology support. So she's learning a couple of systems that we need to use, and just generally will be available to help out like a volunteer, but she is on staff for a period of time. Right now, we're sort of looking at a year, 6 months to a year. Could be up to 2 years. And we also have been able to hire a part-time food service assistant to work in the kitchen with Fred and the volunteers. So we're very excited to have Kim with us now. He happens to be in the room. We also, have completed our 6-month parking monitoring program, so that ended January 31st. Really, last week, I almost didn't know what to do with myself, because I kept thinking I had to go out.
Every hour, right.
What's going on in the parking lot? I don't know. So I still go out sometimes just to see how full it is, but we don't have to do that. But what we are still doing now, so we have all these data sheets that were just manual. And I thought I was just going to turn those over to the traffic engineer, but as it turns out, they now want those transferred into a spreadsheet, which had,
You have to populate.
you know what, yeah, I know. So,
They didn't tell us at the beginning of the process.
they did not. I mean, it was actually said otherwise, so now that's not the case, and we are. So thankfully, Stephanie is able to do that, so she's going to plug in that data. And I did talk with the engineer who actually ended up, because I wasn't quite sure how they wanted to get the data. I mean, there's a lot of data, so did they really want all the zeros and all the exclusions? Because we would count all the cars, but then there was some other information that seemed a little superfluous. However, you also want to know how many are staff or vans when you count the full load. So anyway, it's a little bit easier, but it's still from August 2nd through January 31st, 4 or 5 days a week. That's the data that we still now have to automate and then turn over to the traffic engineer for their report to the planning department and ultimately the planning board. So it's probably a good month away, maybe more, depending on when we can get on the agenda with the planning board.
Right.
So, but it is exciting to be done.
In communication, you can use Stephanie St. Lawrence, LAURENC.
So we got a little work going on in the building as well. Even yesterday, it was a bit noisy. We had some extra fans they were able, decided we needed in the upstairs restrooms. So it just so happened we also had, reflexology and massage right next door to the restrooms and, a class in the other room, but sometimes they're just here when they're here. But that's done, I believe, and we did have some excitement sort of with the HVAC units on the roof during the snow and ice. So the facilities department is really working very hard to get a handle on, and unfortunately they have to go on the roof to check some of those units, which is not convenient. So the other thing they actually have been doing on a couple of weekends is to create a different access point. They have had to go up onto the roof through the janitor's closet, very small, crazy. So now they're making a new opening in the men's room, in the second floor to go up there, yeah.
Oh,
Okay, that's what they were doing in the men's room.
It might have been, yeah, there's been a couple of, it's been a busy place, the men's room, this past week. Electricians sporadically have been here working even outside on the porch lighting, which is a prelude to the parking lot lights, just to get things right for, the neighborhood in general, so, the porch lights are being dimmed slightly, and the parking lot lights just have to be on a timer, and some of that still has to be added and worked on, but I think they're waiting for parts, isn't that right? I believe that's right. Anyway, so that is, but almost done, and the stove might be completely resolved, I think they've been here a few times, and I think it's working for Fred, and I think we've got that handled. There've been a few suggestions for additions to the building interior, and I would like to do that, so someone talked about, it might have even been from here, but a commemorative plaque or something downstairs that recognizes the people that were instrumental in bringing this building to fruition, so really even speaking of the board members, the select board and the TA. So I think we should have that, the architect and contractor, we just never did anything in a permanent way, even though we recognize them, but we haven't written it up. And also, I really want to do a directory, so it's been a suggestion made anyway, and I'd like to do something so that the rooms are viewable, I guess, when you walk in, and people know if they're going upstairs, those are the rooms' names, something like that. So I'd like to work on both those things. And even someone mentioned today a bulletin board may be dedicated to the idea that there are other nonprofits, lots of groups having events all the time. Often we don't know about that, or it might be mentioned at lunch, which is happening a lot, I think. But anyway, something where other nonprofits could list their events for us and people would know to look at that board for it. So I think that's easy to do. We were open for a few hours the day after the nor'easter storm a couple of weeks ago, but really, I would say because no one really lost power beyond that day's time, thankfully. But we were scheduled to be open the day after, once the roads were cleared, and I think 3 people came. Because no one really, in essence, had lost power. So, and then the time before that, we opened for 4 hours. That was on the 15th of January. And that just wasn't necessary either. I had a staff person here in the morning because I couldn't be, and a volunteer came in, and nobody came in. So we're asked to do that, but at this point, luckily, it hasn't happened, and I know people question whether or not we should be the shelter. So I think I explained it last time, but we're not supposed to be the official shelter. And to my knowledge, even if we were something, it would be after the storm, because we don't want people on the road, and then people could come here because they don't have power. And that's the way that would work, not as an overnight shelter. Even though, if down the road that occurs, but it's still the schools. But of course, they make a decision as to whether it's even necessary for the schools to then be taken out of, out of business to have the shelter there. So we are a backup. We'll see how that fleshes out over the next couple of years. I'm seeing a sudden surge in applicants for the senior tax workout program, and I actually am trying to figure out how it got on WATD,
A surgeon applicants for what?
the senior tax
Tax
workout
workout.
program.
Workout.
So,
We talked about it at the last meeting.
The senior what?
a
Tax
senior
workout.
tax
Work on
interest.
You volunteer for work hours and
Oh, okay.
get compensated by having your taxes reduced.
You know, and our town assessor had been here a week ago, and certainly he did talk about it, because that is one of the programs offered by the town. It is in fact a program offered by the town that I facilitate. But I'm just saying, people heard it on the radio, not through me or the town. So I'm curious,
Is it on that radio station?
WATD.
Oh, really?
So, anyway, I'm a little baffled, just, it's never happened before, but they're calling and coming in, and I will say, I need placements.
Yeah.
So I will be reaching out to other departments in the town to see, you know, who, it's sort of resuming the program almost, because the COVID year, we really had to cancel all, of course, as you know. And then there were only less for the past year, and now, you know, we could, if we have jobs to place people, and we can do that. And we can do it here, as I may have talked about last time, but I just still have to come up with the rules.
Is it still limited to 25 participants? Did you say that?
Sure.
It was 25 participants, I believe it's been increased to 30, but again, there's no guarantee because I need 30 jobs.
Right.
So there's not really a guarantee of that. I can do so many here, and then, and some of that is new, so we're really trying to sort of see our way to uncovering what we could have for roles beyond just the usual volunteer stuff. But anyway, just a little comical, I just don't, who did that?
What about, I mean, I don't even know if this is possible, and it could be a conflict of interest, but what about all the churches that are in town? Whether, if somebody, you know, found an opening or a need at their church, could that?
I would say not. We did, a couple of years ago, we were just on the fringe, I guess, so to speak, of saying that potentially a driver for Meals on Wheels, for instance, even though it's outside of our really purview, could be considered. We could get their application in, and that could be considered a tax worker.
Oh, for the.
But then we never really got through it, because then I think it was pretty much right before COVID hit us. So that could be something that I wasn't thinking about.
State
Yeah,
Right,
love
yeah.
to see
Yeah, I
that.
mean, I preface it by saying it could be a
The
conflict.
Meals on Wheels.
Meals on Wheels. I mean, we
I'm just
sort of
trying to
lobbied
figure
for a
out
bit on
because
that, and
Yeah.
then
all
and
these
then it never happened.
nonprofits need help.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just thought I'd
Yeah, so
mention
like-
that in case anybody knows how that happened.
A perfect example would be, for example, right now the town is gonna start moving towards issuing stickers for beach and transfer station. So the town clerk's office accepts a volunteer for.
It's the tax code.
Tax write-off to help process those. And they put
They
in
take
their
one or
hours-
two people.
They put in their hours and we're busy, town hall is busy, and it all works.
And the DPW is filling holes in the streets, so if anyone wants.
Well, no, yeah. There's certain things that aren't eligible for a volunteer.
I was just trying to add a little levity.
I'm sure they are, I'm sure they are. But just to mention, so Joe DeVito, who was the town assessor, he was here last week to his assistant Jackie. And they had a presentation, but now we're doing a second one on March 8th. But there was some questions on Facebook, could we do it later for people who are working or maybe just
Oh.
approaching retirement? And so he is going to do the next one, March 8th at 5:30 at night. So it'll be in our newsletter this time. Last time it came in after we had put the newsletter out to print. So we just tried posting and letting people know, but this time it'll be in the newsletter.
And what's the meeting, what's it for?
Tax exemptions and potential reductions that are available to older adults in town through the various programs. And there's really something to the state, even the circuit breaker tax credit.
Sure.
That a lot of people don't know about, and he
Sure.
simply tries to make
Yeah.
everyone aware of what's available, regardless of where it comes from, the benefit.
Who will be doing that? Who's up?
Our
Town-
town
town
assessor,
Oh,
his name is Joe
Yeah.
DeVito.
Is he?
But he's great, he explains things very well and is super helpful to
Did that be
everyone.
held here?
Yes. Okay, so they want to mention.
Another question about nonprofits.
It's still.
Do you accept donations for the food pantry?
Of food? We are not currently a place where people bring donations, and again, I mean, they haven't asked us, we could, we're obviously close, but, it hasn't come our way.
And then you have to manage the donations too.
So I don't necessarily mind the idea, but we haven't, we've maybe done it during a season, like, back at the other building, so just for Thanksgiving or Christmas, we might have, that would be nice. We do want, and this could be a job, that if someone was willing, but even recycling for us, I mean, I talked about it before, but that's something that I need someone to figure out, you know, how do we do it, where do we put things, you know, then collecting it, then getting it to the transfer station,
Yeah,
so that's something.
we'd like to
that
have this building
we
be,
haven't really done.
have a recycling system. We don't yet. Yeah.
But obviously, I have had people working within, you know, under the COA umbrella. So our art exhibit has been really very successful, I mean, really all three of them, but I think this one, of course, if you've looked at it, has been very sort of more provocative a bit, and has really been meaningful to many people who've seen it. So this woman also, Sarah Holbrook, Seth came down and interviewed her for SCTV, so if anyone is interested in that, it's on, if you go on YouTube and SCTV, Scituate Community Television, you can see the videos that are posted there. So our Council on Aging Board meetings are posted there, as would this be. So if you were interested in seeing that, she very thoughtfully answered or talked about some of the pieces and what led to her doing those. And it really was a very creative pursuit of hers in her situation as a caregiver, so it's been nice. But that said, so we've had three. We had the Scituate senior artists, and then we had the coastal printmakers, very professional group, and that was wonderful. And then after Sarah's, beginning March 1st, we'll have the middle school students, and then after them the high school students, so March and April, which will be very nice. And we will have a reception. We've scheduled the one for the middle school students so that their parents can come or anyone else can come in and just view and meet the kids.
Wonderful.
March 22nd, which is a Tuesday night, from 4:30 to 7, and then we'll hope to do the same in April with the high school. And then we actually do have maybe 50 high school students coming next Wednesday to visit from the high school to see the exhibit that's currently there, because the teachers were really moved by it too, so they're gonna come in.
So the art classes at the high school?
Yeah, I don't know if they're walking or riding or what they're doing, but they're coming for an hour maybe from school. 1 o'clock next Wednesday.
All hands on deck.
Right.
Showcases the community art talent.
And beyond that, we do have the rest of the year more or less scheduled for 2-month intervals for some various, which has been nice. I have a committee. I'm very grateful for their help in developing and soliciting some artists from the community and just some other thematic work that I think is going to be great. So far it's been mostly the first floor, obviously, and you might notice even this wall, one of the walls up here is blank and could use some other art, so we'll get it, I guess, but maybe we could do 2 at one time if we had to, so that's another thought. I have also agreed to put us, so to speak, in the St. Patrick's Day Parade
Oh, really?
again. Well, the other 2 times were a lot more work, so this time actually, I think we may just use the van, which of course it is a new van and it's nicely laid out with our logo.
As opposed to breaking out lumber and hammering nails.
Yeah. Really, it was a lot of work, so, and honestly, I think we're not quite sure, but had a couple of our exercise or dance activities that I would say offer to maybe have people do some dancing, walking along the way, Zumba, line dance. And we've always, the other 2 times, we had the Brown Brothers play for us on our float, but I'm hoping maybe they would just get positioned in front of us, and we'll still get the music and get credit for the music, because they're great. But anyway, we'll see about that, but it will at least be the band with people on it.
Good.
That's exciting.
Anybody wants to join us, they're welcome to it. I am currently working on, the executive office is back asking us for our annual report, which I have to have done, and also our Town of Scituate annual report, which I have to have done next week. Department of Transportation has a periodic report, especially with the new van, and talking about use of the new van or the vans in general. So I have some reports to take care of that I haven't been able to get to. And then I just want you to know, a little shout out to our 5th grade Wampatuck school students, because they actually brought 3 envelopes, and one of them is made out to you. The Council on Aging Board specifically gets some Valentines to take home.
Oh,
So-
my only
We
Valentine.
want to thank them for thinking of us, and it's kind of nice when you have them. So
Wow.
don't forget to take one on the way home.
Oh, that's nice.
It is nice, it's wonderful, I miss making Valentines. So, those are there.
Could have little envelopes and put it in.
Right, I know.
I'm just reliving my
I-
childhood.
That was
I
always
remember you
fun,
always
isn't
had
it?
like the little thing in front, and then it was like, you know, some people it was overflowing and other people.
This is from 5th graders, eh?
You can't do that, you can't help pause through them just because you're the director and.
Well, there's some
chair,
by
I should
name,
say.
like
Oh,
here's
really?
one to Dear Pat Carlson.
Oh, it has
So-
names on it, wow.
I didn't actually even notice that. Well, they did their
That's
research.
right off the bat. I don't know if everyone else has,
That is so,
but there's by name.
Miss Leslie, oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Well, there we go.
And you better know Anthony.
That is so impressive. I hope they watch this.
Adorable.
Here's Miss Dwyer.
That our name?
It's really sweet.
Peace symbol.
The peace symbol. I'm a peace girl.
Wow, we have more tax.
Just Susan Kelly and Ms. Brady, so I'll send them. Anyway, well, you can do that. I'm gonna go on and just talk about Jess's report, just a couple of things she happens to mention in here. The lunch program, as you know, is going very well. We've actually somewhat upped it toward the 45 to 50 person mark when we can. Tuesdays are still light, so that's fine. But we have worked on trying to do that. We are planning a St. Patrick's Day luncheon where we can do something bigger for the corned beef and cabbage. And we did engage Matt Brown to come in and play some music for us that day for the lunch hour. So
This is on
St. Patrick's Day, it's a Thursday. If anyone has any connection, if we could get some non-alcoholic green beer, something like, that would be fun.
Well, it's easy to make green beer.
It is?
Yes, having owned a few bars.
I did not.
I would buy- Yeah, oh, well, you just,
She's allowed there to chill that.
But you don't-
if you have somebody serving it, right, pouring it,
Yeah.
you just put a drop of,
Oh,
food
green,
color.
right. So we'd have to pour it out of the bottles and put a little tinge of green. It was just a thought if anyone,
And then everyone's lips and.
So there'll be,
Is it the 19th?
the lunch? or
17th. Oh.
No, the parade.
I think the luncheon was the 17th. The
Agreed.
parade is the 20th.
It is.
Yeah.
And for the most part, when you look in that room, it's filled, it's filled.
Well, it's-
We,
We've eliminated the fist fights.
well, the lobby, not the lobby, the cafe area used to be a little dicey with people waiting to see if they could get in or thinking they were on the list and they weren't.
Is that resolved?
It's lessened.
Seems to have settled down, yeah.
What do you
So
think?
the St. Patrick's Day lunch is gonna be a change.
Less errors, either on our part or just training people to, follow the system.
What when you change it,
Well-
not being able to sign up for a whole.
Right, that could have helped,
helps?
for sure. And also, so the 2-week time frame, granted, people are lined up at the desk as soon as they can start to sign up for the lunches. But we're a little bit better, we keep a short wait list. When we get cancellations, we call the people on the wait list. Things are just a little clearer, I think, to everyone. So, don't know if it's perfect, but it's definitely better. I do want to mention that we are bringing on another exercise instructor, very excited to have a man. And we're going to start him with we've had an existing class, which has been mostly the lowest impact seated exercise. We called it joint efforts, but we had physical therapists coming in to do it. But it just needs to be a little bit different, a little more dynamic, make it appealing to people who just may have a need to be gentle on the joints, or maybe they've had a hip replacement, or, just something that. So we're gonna start him there and actually have some other ideas for him too. So he's gonna start with us for March, or February
Does he have-
28th, actually.
Does he happen to be local around here?
Well, local enough, and he is teaching something in Marshfield already,
Okay.
and, he's got his feelers out to another COA, but he's on the Cape, so.
Okay.
He does have a commute.
Did you want to mention his name out of there?
Sure, his name's Neil Sullivan.
Well, it's right here in the notes too.
Oh, okay.
So again, there's a whole right on him.
And then Jess is working on, she's got a couple of things lined up for March that are exciting. Someone doing a garden series and coming in to do, cafe talks. We're starting to set up, trying maybe even to use the afternoons a little bit more just because they're a little quieter, at least a couple of days a week, and better on the parking lot. And both Erin and Jess are working together to use volunteers on the outreach side, so have sort of a different pocket of volunteers that Erin can work with on her end, or even Lillian for some transportation needs, so. And then if you just wanna look at the numbers, the activities overview, we still have most of our numbers in the fitness and exercise, but keep in mind the social event, which does include lunch. If you look at the furthest column to the right, those are our current unduplicated numbers, so those are the number of people taking part in those activities. They could come every day, in which case the unduplicated numbers are obviously much larger. But those are good-sized numbers, and even though she'll say we've seen it a little, decrease, not a heck of a lot. I meant to print out, just so even I remember, but for instance, these are our large categories, so social event does include lunch, it includes breakfast. There are things that we designate as a social event, where in recreation, for instance, is more, hobbies, it's the movie, it's knitting, it's some of the games, or the games. So, more or less we know what that is, but I know if anybody was curious, I didn't bring the list with me. Community education, it's literally some classes I've had in the history class.
Under the volunteers, is that the number of volunteers or the hours?
The number of volunteers,
Like, front desk 14, is that 14 hours or 14 people?
no, that would be people.
I did sign in today, they have us on there now.
Very good. And yes, even doing the report, the annual report to the state, they do ask me for number of volunteers and number of hours for total volunteers. It has a place to know that. Right now she's only writing, how many she's got working at different things. But that's great, that's a total. Right now of 50, honestly, we probably have a few more that are maybe unofficial at this point, so we need to get them on the official list, because I would say we have more.
Like that's,
Yeah, thank you. Exactly, because you're not in there. So,
Can I ask, just out of curiosity, what is the hand foot card game?
hand and foot. Hand and
Either
foot
way,
card game.
what
It's
is the
like
hand and foot
canasta,
card game?
that's
I've
all
never
I
heard
can
of
tell.
it.
It's like canasta, which I also don't know.
So people don't have to hold the cards.
They play in foursomes. They
That's-
actually have
that's what I'm
a,
thinking, yeah.
they actually have a battery-operated deck thing at
Shuffler.
each table, card shuffler. They play in foursomes at the table. We have 4 or 5 tables of people playing. They love it, but I have can't tell you
I guess
anything
I'll have
else
to
about
stop
it.
by and look and watch.
Yeah,
I don't have a clue what the hand foot card game is.
and they do the hand and foot.
Yeah.
We had, one time we did have, when we were doing the students from the high school, the tech time students, or the
Yep,
Interact Club students were coming in for a dinner and game night,
yep.
which we used to have at the old building. And a woman did come, and she was teaching everyone that game. I did not sit down at that table for that, so I still don't know.
It says it's like canasta.
Everybody asked that question, and that's all I have for them.
Okay.
It says it's a popular variation from the rummy type game of canasta. It's a simpler version of canasta.
They're here from 12, sometimes 12
Canasta.
to 4:30 even. They pretty much close the
Wow,
place.
really?
I think this is vocalizing from the members of Friends of Scituate Seniors. They love it, and they are just adamantly
Mhm.
encouraging everybody to join it. I don't know how much room is left. Now, we would just want to go out and buy some more batteries for the card shufflers, because if they're wearing down, and if you keep using them, I suppose it would be right there.
They're like C I don't know, they're big batteries.
I think there were C batteries.
But I did ask to order, I don't know if we did order them or not.
No, yeah, Fox would pay for them, it's just,
Oh, Foster P.
yeah, I mean, it's just
Maybe because they make so
acknowledging how
Yeah.
so
much
much
the members of
that you
Foss
hold all your
enjoy
cards with
that
your hands
particular
and
game.
feet.
Well, as so often happens, you know, some people are doing it and everybody wants to take part and,
Right, yeah.
you know, they have a good time and now they're learning something. It's just like marshalling, it really, it kind of ebbs and flows. It grows and sometimes it's a little lighter, but we are having a pool tournament, February 25th. So, nice guy he's come into play from the very beginning and he knows what he's doing and he had some ideas and it seems like why not. There are a lot of people using the table, but in their own twosomes or threesomes or foursomes, so.
So how does it work?
Nice way to get together. We're gonna schedule, so the signups, they'll be scheduled for their game, so to speak, or maybe paired. And a game could last, 20 minutes, it could last an hour, it's hard to say. So they'll be sort of on deck for each of those, and then maybe they pair it down, I'm not really sure, for a championship or something.
It's really almost like, college basketball with the brackets, same kind of
There
thing.
you go. So just a nice way to have.
16 people and, these two people put, and if you win, you move over into the next level of the bracket, and eventually it boils down to 2 finalists.
Will we finish the tournament on one day?
No.
Yes, I think we're saying 10 till maybe approximately 2, and we'll try to have some refreshments for you.
Okay.
No money, maybe a lunch coupon, free lunch. That's the
Oh,
prize.
no prize?
Well, that's a prize.
Yeah.
I guess if they can get a reservation. Maybe it's the reservation and not the coupon.
Yes.
Anyway, so that's activities and volunteer stuff. Transportation, it's still busy enough. Really, Lillian does such a good job that I almost feel like I'm a little bit out of it now, which is just fine. But she feels there was an increase in in-town medical, which of course is local for us, so it's our drivers staying in town versus the out-of-town medical appointments, which is a little harder to schedule. And the one problem we have with that is that on Mondays and Fridays, the drivers that would go out of town for us are not working. So if people need appointments on those days, then that's when we contract out with the Social Community Action Council. So, but 4 drivers is great. One does most of the local. Betty is only Wednesdays, and then Jim and Joe each have a couple of days a week that they are available. So it's working out.
We had a lot of out-of-town, we had a lot of medical rides in January.
Yes, that is what she was saying. Now, a lot of cancellations too, mostly because of the weather, so the end result wasn't as big as it looks to start, but that's still a lot of time on the phone.
It also looks like a lot of people are
But-
using it to go shopping.
I do hope it increases. At this point, 48 to 50, steady riders is pretty good. But
Yeah.
we could certainly go up. And we'd like to have some full bands. The sloop, although I haven't been out there enough to see it, has been coming more regularly, or at least we are on the schedule for them to come through. I think the driver had sort of taken it upon himself, didn't think it was worth it or necessary to come through here and make it a stop, even though it's supposed to be a stop. So we spoke,
All along was.
Lillian called. They should be coming now, so if anybody does ask or wants to know, right now we're working with the schedule that is available online, so it's still hourly.
Yep,
Um,
should be.
But I don't see it all the time, but I'm sure it's quick. And then Erin's great, she's staying out, she is doing a lot of home visits to get to know some of the seniors that are more homebound and see what their needs are, but also really helping a lot of people that are coming in for various reasons. Some have never been in here, but she really is doing a great job reaching out to those people. And also it has come up with, we were hoping to have a resource that we all could have access to, but that she has built up so that if people are calling for certain things within the community, that now we might have an answer for them, whether it's a handyman, plumber, electrician, or whether it is a caregiving resource and not just you know, something more formal. And even to tell you the truth, some of the,
Client touches, that she said.
people ask about social day programs, maybe we've only had one or two to send them to that we've known about. So she's really been researching a little bit more to find out what is available. But this is a good array of different categories that she has been assisting people with.
Don't you do the smoke detectors with the fire department every February?
We assist or connect, I suppose, with the fire department who has the SAFE program that they get a grant for, so they end up using the grant to buy smoke detectors and CO detectors. And then one of our people will go with them when they may call for an appointment, or that's usually how it works, I guess, so we should advertise that, but I haven't been told just yet to do that. And then, let's say Erin or myself or Erica might go out to the homes, just to meet with people that we may not know, but it's a really nice service by the fire department, to update their.
Yeah.
So hopefully that gives you a good idea about what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
Is that the,
It's a big deal.
smoke detectors, is that heat pump?
No.
If they're over 10 years old. I have all of them.
And sometimes it's just because you want it looked at to make see what, you know, is it still safe? That's
Yeah.
mostly the reason
We
that
had
they
smoke
are
in the
doing
house
it.
and the alarm didn't go off.
Right. I mean, hopefully it's not just a battery, but yes, and they have a lifespan, which not everybody even realizes, that whether they're a
10
5-year or a
yeah.
10-year lifespan, so they
Yeah.
do need them.
Yeah.
Driving my dog crazy when the lifespan runs out.
Oh, I know.
And I'm going, it's off, it's no problem, and he's outside.
Does anyone have any questions for Linda on anything along those activities, volunteers, transportation, treasurer's report? Building update? Is there a building update other than?
I think I gave it.
Okay.
Anything, yeah, not really, that was pretty much it. We need training on the fireplace, you know, we discovered that the fireplace, we were using the light switch, well,
That's
the
what-
wall switch,
Yeah.
to turn it on and to turn it off, that's what we were told.
Right.
Turns out there was a remote left in one of the cabinets that operates the fireplace, but it was so high and so hot and no fan, once we started using it in the colder weather more often, that it was starting to, something that was under the mantle, so to speak, was peeling off. So one of our volunteers, honestly, who's also a construction guy, builder, he noticed it and pointed out to me, and anyway, one thing led to another, and now we realize we need to use the remote. We can't use the light switch because that cancels out all the settings we've made using the remote.
Oh, wow.
So I will say, you know, facilities put in a plastic thing to prevent somebody from using that light switch because we don't want that to return. Somebody pushed it. Somebody pushed it. It really, I mean, actually really surprised me. So we're gonna, so I guess it's supposed to be red or something because it is like a code.
Why don't you just put a piece of artwork over it?
Well, I know, really don't want it red down there in the cafe, but
Yeah,
just
just put a
saying.
piece of artwork over it.
So we literally, I think they're calling and we need training on the remote is what they're telling us, so,
God.
to use the fireplace.
Oh, God.
Just because something has to work with the default to make sure it's not, right now I have to do it every day and reset it so that it's low enough and the fan is on.
Really?
If you use the remote, it
Yeah.
will turn itself off after a period of time or at a certain temperature.
Well, maybe, and I don't know how to do that.
But we'll do that.
Mine at home.
Oh, okay,
I'm
so,
assuming.
right.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say.
Even facilities, come in the driveway, you know, the sign was turned around, so it's obvious from the other end. But the post, any chance that could be like painted yellow, just to make it, when you're pulling in, that it's very obvious?
The left-hand turn sign?
Yeah,
It's on the island?
or on the island itself.
Well, it's not supposed to be on the island actually, but because it kept getting knocked over,
But it was great to see.
it's just on the island, so people
This
are.
time I didn't have to sort it.
Well, then I thought, then the snow was covering it, so basically I thought people were going to just start taking left-hand turns because they couldn't see the sign anymore. I'll ask, I don't know exactly,
Yeah, just,
I mean,
It was good to see that.
he usually thinks of everything and there may be a reason why it it's not a different,
Do we know if that's getting any better, the left-hand turn?
I can only assume it is. Someone was unhappy from the church, that there was still a number of people using the church as a turnaround, and that at their
Right.
expense, they changed the direction of, the church across the street.
Yep.
So people, it says do not enter, and people were still entering, that's not my fault.
You don't even have to enter
Um,
and turn around though, you just
Yeah,
do it you.
You can do it. So I think if people are doing that, hopefully they're going one step further and going to Central Park Drive before doing that. It's very inconvenient for me to go to Town Hall a lot, but that is the way it is.
You just go the back way out, go Cudgel and.
You can do that. You go the back way up. I do it always. So, it's fine. I will mention that, yeah.
Anyone have any other questions for Linda? Questions, comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
I do not have any update from the select board or Karen, so unless you do, I haven't heard. And Joan Powers is not here, so
If anyone's interested, town meeting is April 11th.
Elaine Foss,
Oh,
Friends of Scituate.
Friends of Scituate thing is, I apologize, I haven't been here in a couple of months, due to circumstances beyond my control. But we are, FOSS is starting to get more organized, doing more, planning more things. We do have, we have a general meeting coming up next Tuesday to hopefully vote in a new treasurer.
oh,
Andrea Stafford has volunteered to take over the treasurer's
Okay.
role. And I am supremely grateful that she has volunteered. She has been approved by the board, but has to be voted in by the general meeting.
Mhm.
So that would be very helpful, and that would open up something to be able to nominate another individual to be the vice president to assist Jean Young, who's running as president now. So that's upcoming, that'd be Tuesday, the 15th.
Tuesday.
We are also planning, finally, a function to be held here at the senior center. An evening, well, what is it? An afternoon with Julia Child. It's a theatrical production. And it's, they've been all over the area, not, they've been in Hanover, they're from the North Coast, but they will come down here and they bring their own props and everything, including their own bottle of wine. So anyway, that will be held on April 12th, which is a Tuesday. Current timing is at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The performance will be at 1 o'clock. We will be providing, the senior center will be providing coffee and tea, and the Friends of Scituate seniors will be providing pastries and what have you at the individual tables. It's limited to an audience of 70 people. And we will be charging like $10 a piece, which will cover the cost of the theatrical presentation and nothing else. But it should be a wonderful time, and we're looking forward to starting up, presenting more things going on in the future. We're looking at a comedian coming in. We're looking at, I don't know what the last one was, but there's a comedian on the way that we're looking at. And it's just so awesome that we can look at doing these things and have them here.
Oh, yeah.
And not have to worry about having them someplace else. That, oh, we have to bring this there, and we have to bring that there. They're here, now we're gonna do it here. And the center is providing the coffee and tea, which we were gonna have brought in because we didn't know. I mean, there are limitations that we can do in the kitchen, but that was great. So we'll just bring in pastries, and that's super easy, and So we're just super excited about that. Oh, and we've also, we're bringing in donation of Heritage Kisses at the front
I
desk.
helped myself on the way up.
Okay. And we will be looking to donate or pay for the donations for Hershey's Kisses for the St. Patrick's Day Parade, which, that's the last time,
That was the last time they bought them, and that
2.5 years ago, I
Probably
don't
use
know.
them.
We just paid for them, but we did put them out here,
Yeah,
old, but there was no complaints about eating them.
no.
So we would like to do that again. So if Linda can let us know if you're gonna arrange for the purchase, or if we should arrange for the purchase, but we'll pay for it.
This way I'm in trouble.
Well, we'll see, I'll
Right.
talk to Jean about that, because she's been getting them from somewhere already.
But we found that we haven't been getting them from the most economical place.
I do know who to go to for that, so, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what we're doing, and hopefully, we will have a new treasurer after next Tuesday, and I will be very happy. Of course, then I'll be the vice president, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
But that's okay.
Are you planning on transitioning up to?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's the plan,
Okay,
to help Jeannie, you know. she
Yeah.
needs to help, so.
sure she is.
And I couldn't do both, so.
Very good. Glad to hear you're back on,
Moving on and up.
moving on, yeah. Very good. Old business, new business? I think we were gonna discuss, or at least I will throw out to everyone, there are grant opportunities in the community that if we feel like, if anyone feels like there's an idea, toss it out. There's grant opportunities from the Scituate Education Foundation. There's grant opportunities potentially from the Rotary Club. I believe,
There's the
AARP.
AARP Community Challenge Grant, which is a little bit of a age-friendly kind of a, for umbrella, so to speak, which could involve any sort of amenities or attributes that would assist for people. I mean, we've talked about benches, you know, a lot. We have benches, we do, but let's say benches maybe should be added down to, at the bus stops, if that was the case for the
Mhm.
slope. You know, that's just an example of what somebody might write a grant for that. I mean, I
So
guess I have an idea for the
so
outdoor exercise.
ideas, if you see an idea that maybe translates into a potential opportunity, raise it.
Jill, the board.
You could, sure, any and all.
And I feel a little
Or me.
restricted right now, I don't have time, and, you know, we didn't do it last year. Now, the SEF grant, you know, we should definitely do. The Cultural Council grant, for instance, comes up in October. I mean, we should always do that.
Yeah.
But I haven't always had time.
So ideas and opportunities, and then, or if anybody feels comfortable writing grants, we can always probably
You can let
use,
me know.
that
I'd
would be
love
the
to.
next step. After we've identified an idea and an opportunity, somebody needs to write
Yeah.
and rough up the.
Usually the
grant
applications are pretty
Yeah.
straightforward.
Yeah.
Would the
So-
recyclable, the
Yeah,
recycling program you mentioned fall into anything like that?
Not big enough, really. I mean, that's more logistics and somebody willing to kind of do the, you
How
know.
come the town doesn't, the town department doesn't take care of recycling?
To be honest, probably Nick right now, like, they might take our cardboard,
Yeah,
which we were putting out by the dumpster and DPW, we were waiting for them to pick it up. May not always be timely, and Nick, of course, will sometimes do that, but he's running around to multiple buildings, so it would just be nice if we didn't have to rely on that.
What about owning your own shredder? Giant one. But
We
the
might
kind,
have a paper shredder,
you
but,
know, the kind that you had that shredding event?
yes.
That kind of,
Oh, the shred,
the truck.
the truck?
A lot of the
Is
driver
that
for the truck.
paid from the Friends or from?
The shredder we paid for out of, you know, money that we have been given through donations, various reasons. So we paid for half of it and Sands paid for half of
I mean, it was so popular.
it. It was super popular.
So it's something that could be done, I don't know, quietly maybe.
I mean, it was not inexpensive, and right now, I can't remember quite what the truck cost, but it might have been upwards to $600 or $700. It was not inexpensive, it was great, it was great. I think I might have mentioned, so when we did it with Sands, and it was community-wide. I've never worked so hard in my life, I was so tired. And that was just from breaking down boxes and things, which really wasn't supposed to be the case, you're supposed to come, that person should dump it in
Yeah,
the truck and
yeah,
walk away
yeah,
with their
right.
thing, that was not happening.
Oh, boy.
So my feeling is just if we were to do it again, we would do it here for our population, you know what I mean?
Yes.
That it would really be sort of a senior event. It was an awful lot, that's all. They had great volunteers too, but it
You
was
might
great.
wanna let us know from Foss
Yeah.
that maybe we could fund
Yeah,
that.
that'd be great, and actually that could be an initiative for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
definitely.
spring.
Yeah, spring, fall, what, you know. And high school kids can break down the boxes if they have to, so. If we
Yes.
could
Yeah, we
organize.
get the high school kids
If we
to be involved.
And
Wait,
then
maybe
people
other
could
things you
take
talk
home
about,
their
you know,
boxes.
musical
Well, that would
instruments,
be
maybe.
preferable, they could
Maybe
bring them
we
from
could,
broken down.
maybe there's a grant
And I have
opportunity to buy a
find
mandolin
out.
for the senior center, or two, so that we could have mandolin.
Well, we do ukulele,
Or
and
ukulele
at this
or
point,
drums
people
or
either
whatever.
need to have their own, or the library will loan out a ukulele for a week. So they did do a grant, they do have ukuleles
Okay.
at the library, we could do that and have them here, and there's storage, you know, then we're responsible, so it's kind of.
Whatever happened with the piano?
For a function.
Do you ever get one?
Sorry, but, yeah, I know a piano, I would love a piano, but you want the right piano, we need to have the right piano.
Right.
We have an upright that was old and is still back at the old building, we didn't move it, because I thought I would be able to get a donation of a better, and I,
Baby grant.
like a baby grand, you know, facilities doesn't know where we're gonna put a baby grand, but we keep it in the big room, but if we ever had to put it somewhere else, would we be able to? Everybody's nervous, but I would love a piano.
Yeah.
There are digital electronic baby grants out that are smaller, much smaller, nominal sound. We have one in my home, $6,000 for an average price,
Right.
but it's.
So we wouldn't be buying this, you know, we would use money for, I mean, we got a donation of that.
Give a donation.
But a grant, I see what you're saying, but a grant,
Yeah, a
that
grant.
could be
We
something.
have many functions.
Well,
that we
I
have,
would-
yeah. And we already have the, you know.
I mean, I suppose if someone could write up kind of a proposal for an idea, even if they didn't wanna write the grant for me, if that made it easier for me to plug it into a grant, then I would do that. I would do that.
Right, okay.
I have had a thought, I mean, I'd love some outdoor exercise equipment, believe it or not. I have seen it. I mean, it has been done, so other senior centers may have it. But it's a nice idea. On a nice day, they go out, maybe you have a little bit of a course where you're doing walking and you can, or it's almost like an adult playground. And you
Park
have
course,
certain,
like a park course?
like a park course, potentially, yeah. Anyway, so that's an idea for community use, but anybody else has some thoughts?
So, yeah, any
Or I
ideas?
can print out it
Germinate,
is
let us
helpful
know.
to see what they say online about what the grant is for, or sometimes they give you examples of other grants that have been done, and it's very helpful, so if you wanna know that, just come see me.
Anybody else have any other thoughts, business, old or new? Okay, very good. Well, thank you all for coming. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
And a second.
Second.
Very good. Thank you, Pat. Thank you all for coming. Our next meeting is...
The next meeting
Just
is March
questions.
10th,
Give us
probably.
questions about it,
March
you know.
and February.
It's just really-